Hey, 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 thanks again for pressing play. And welcome once again to another edition of the Suns Jam Session Podcast, the original post-game podcast on Planet Purple. I'm your host, John Voida, managing editor of Bright Side of the Sun. I'd like to thank you for taking a little time to hang out with me after the Suns game. It was an NBA Cup game against the Utah Jazz, where the Suns ultimately won 120-112. They are now 9-2 on the season, and they're looking okay, despite a plethora of injuries. Yes, this team was without Kevin Durant. They were without Yusuf Nurkic. It's the same guys who've blocked me on Twitter, oddly enough. Not saying anything's fishy here, but I'm just saying, something to keep an eye on. Block me on Twitter. You might miss some time. I'm just kidding. But tonight, joining me to talk about the game, Matthew's got one of those migraines, so, get better, Matthew. But when that happens, we've always got a stable of amazing co-host to help us out, and you might know him from the He's on Fire podcast. That's right. Welcoming back to the show. It's been a minute. Welcome back to JayyyJoyce. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thanks again for inviting me back on. Love talking ball with you guys. Shout out to Matthew. I'm subbing in, next man up. So hopefully you get better. But hey, it's always a pleasure talking ball with you, especially with the Suns winning.
Heck
now,
yeah.
Compared to last season. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot more fun to talk about a victory. Have you blocked me on Twitter?
No, I don't believe so because you messaged me today. So
okay, and that's why you're here. Because if you had blocked me on Twitter, something might have happened. Notice to the world. You block me, I'm gonna find you. You're gonna miss a game or two.
I'm surprised Nurk hasn't blocked me because I go through like my stages of like publicly shaming Nurk, on the platform. But like, hey, I'm he probably sees that I'm the Nurk defender majority of the time.
I am too. Yeah. Honestly, what happened? The reason I got blocked, and I hate that I have to tell this story on a victory, but there was one of those posts where the Phoenix Suns posted something about Nurkic relative to his statistics, and he actually retweeted it. And in the comments, I did kind of the sarcastic font of like, yeah, let's trade him, like capital letter, lowercase letter, capital letter, lowercase letter, like that. I'm like, yeah, let's trade him. And he blocked me because of it. I'm like, no, that's sarcasm font, Nurk. It's sarcasm font. We shouldn't trade. Whatever. And for that reason, I'm blocked. But you know what? If you're watching this podcast or listening, you're not blocked. And I appreciate you spending some time with us. So make sure you subscribe, rate, review. Real quick, JayyyJoyce, tell them where they can follow you and about your show.
You can follow me at JayyyJoyce on Twitter. And at the He's on Fire podcast, on the He's on Fire podcast, we haven't dropped an episode in a while. So we're just going through life stuff right now. But hey, if anybody needs me to talk ball, I'm here to talk ball always and forever. So
welcome to the Suns Jam Session, where I have no life and I go live way too long. I had somebody DM me the other day, like, you doing like G League post game pods? I'm like, dude, I have to have some life, like,
dear Lord.
I know. I'm like, wouldn't that be intense though? It's like doing those. I'd really have no life. So again, thanks everyone who's joined us. Pop them if you got them. You drink anything with me tonight, my friend?
I have a Coke, 0 sugar tonight.
Ooh, 0 sugar. You're not staying up late. I like it. No caffeine. Well, pop that son of a bitch open. Pop them if you're watching. Ooh, sounds so good. Let's get into this NBA Cup action. Game in 11 tries tonight by defeating the Utah Jazz, going up to Utah. We're actually your co-host, Evan B. He was at the game, experiencing it there because he is a Utah guy. But it brings me to my first question because this is the NBA Cup.
Matthew,
JayyyJoyce. Some good overdubbing there, isn't it? I hope that came across properly as I intended.
Bass boosted.
People driving home like, what the fuck was that? But obviously, so this is the first game of the NBA Cup, what was formerly the in-season tournament. And sure enough, I had friends text me. They're like, "Yo, what's up with the court, man?" And it's always an opportunity for those of us who watch basketball regularly to be like, yeah, it's the NBA Cup. They're like, what's that? And you have to have a link handy to send it to them so they know what it is, because explaining it just through text message, it gets lost. So I actually have something that I've written on Bright Side of the Sun that I've bookmarked. So whenever somebody asks, I just send them that. But that being said, NBA Cup victory for the Suns, winning 120-112. Does that concern you relative to point differential?
Jordan Clarkson decided to go try hard at the end. So
that asshole.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the NBA Cup is about, like you play until the final whistle. And Clarkson just heaved, some shots at the end. I mean, we could have been having a plus 12, point difference, which would have been nice. But hey, you take what you can get. I'll take the dub.
Amen.
And plus, with the injury riddled, the injury bug going across the whole league right now, I would just take the wins, worry about the cup later. I mean, if the Lakers want to win it again, they can hang up that banner.
Exactly. They continue hanging up the banner. I was talking about it with a friend at work today, and they asked me that. They're like, well, how hard do you think the Suns should go for the NBA Cup? And we were looking at the odds, and the Suns are a plus 3,300 to win the NBA Cup. And I go, I don't know. I don't know if they care. Again, it's like you said, it's about winning right now. It's about health. If you win the NBA Cup, it's a byproduct of winning. So that's always a good thing. But at the same time, it does make it more entertaining as it pertains to point differential. And seeing the Suns take on the Jazz and win by only 8 is one of those things that we're going to continue to monitor over this next month as we consume these NBA Cup games, because it's going to be interesting to see what other teams in the Western Conference Group B are going to do against the Jazz. The Jazz are the weakest team in our group. It's us, it's the Jazz, it's the Spurs, it's OKC, and it's the Lakers, right? Those are the 5 teams in Group B. And they're all going to have their turn just slapping the shit out of the Jazz. Do you think that 8 points over the Jazz is an appropriate number? Or do you think that another team's just going to like slap, love and discipline, give them a forehand and a backhand and win by like 30 points over this team?
It definitely can happen. I do think they have a lot of good individual talent on Utah. I do like Keontae George, Lauri Markkanen. I mean, I'm just in love with, and even that new cat that they got, that other center. I'm spacing on
Walker Kessler.
Not Walker.
Filipowski.
Yeah, Filipowski. Yeah, Flip
the Duke kid.
Yeah. So no, I'm a big fan of a lot of the individual guys on Utah, and they're taking for Cooper Flag. And,
yes.
So whatever, so, and they can
Somebody's going to take advantage of that, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, when they're tanking for Cooper Flag, who is the poster child for Utah, to fit in right next to Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen on a poster, they're going to sell jerseys left and right up there. But it's one of those things where, again, watching this game, the Suns were consistently ahead. This game was never in doubt. Right. And I think after the first quarter, they were up 33-21. You're like, okay, we got this thing in the bag. They pushed the lead as far as 18, and they just couldn't put them away, to your point, because of the talent that this team does possess. Foundationally, Danny Ainge has done a good job of acquiring assets who, when the time's right, he'll pull the trigger appropriately and make the moves, because he also has draft picks up his sleeve. But they aren't a cohesive team. They're not a competitive team. It's a team, in my opinion, of individuals, and that's why you see high turnover rates. They're one of the top turnover teams in the league, and tonight they had 13 to the Suns 10 and had 16 and allowed 16 points off those turnovers. So it's a team that really has a lot of pieces, but they're just not competitive, and it's got to drive people in Utah crazy, which I absolutely love. I don't know about you, but I've never once pitied a Utah fan. Have you?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No. Yeah, even when they were good a couple of years ago, and they're crying about Rudy Gobert and how much of a cone he was as soon as he left the paint. And it's like, hey, I mean, that was pre Danny Ainge. Now, since Danny Ainge is there, I would not be surprised if Utah is in a really, really good position 2-3 seasons from now. So
I completely agree. It's going to be like them and OKC will own half the draft, and we'll just all sit back and watch them go back and forth picking players, and just be like, man, it'd be nice if we had a draft pick right about now, because
they're scouting for 2032.
They really are. They really are. So I mean, it's an interesting team, but to the Suns' credit, they did what they needed to do. They win. Eight's an appropriate number, right? There's a lot of games ahead of us in this NBA Cup, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Suns play those teams, and if the point differential ultimately will matter, or if they, they like their next NBA Cup game is on Friday when they play OKC, who is undermanned too, by the way. And it'll be interesting to just see how that all unfolds. What are your thoughts on the courts this year? Now we saw the computer graphics over the summer. It was a talking point for like 2 days in the middle of August, but now we've actually seen them. We saw Utah's tonight. We've seen some other ones. If you're flipping back and forth and you saw like the 76ers where it looked like they were playing in a room that was like blacklit or something. It was kind of strange. Like, what's your take on these courts? Do you give a shit? Tell me what you're thinking there, JayyyJoyce.
It's unique, and last year's courts. I mean, there was a lot of misses, but it was fun. It was fun, and this year the NBA chilled on the red, especially with like the Bulls and other teams and stuff. They toned it down quite a bit, but I think overall, all the courts look pretty appealing. The Pistons is kind of ass. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just like their logo everywhere and stuff. What's up, Evan? But yeah, Chicago's is really good. I really like what the Suns have this year. That at PHX, like sort of
the subdued.
Yes, the subdued with the black border, and then they have the the color palette down below. I mean, that's clean. The Lakers one is even pretty cool too. They have all the championship stars at the bottom too. And I think the courts are a lot cleaner this year. And I mean, it's a conversation starter for people that aren't sickos like us, so but I think the courts are really cool this year.
If you're walking down the street, right, like if you're going to a Suns game and you're walking on Jefferson, they've got those outdoor bars kind of on Jefferson. If you're just a casual person walking by, or a bum, and you happen to look inside of one of those restaurants, you'll see something's different because of the court, and that's the whole purpose, to catch your attention. I'm sitting next to my wife tonight, and she's scrolling through TikTok. She looks up, she sees the 76ers court. She's like, what the fuck's going on here? Well, this is the NBA Cup, and I just send her a link to Brightside. I mean, I just read about that, She's like, I don't care. Yeah, read my work. She's like, I don't care. I'm like, all right, cool. But for a casual person, again, it's a differentiator, and I think that the differentiators this year, although some are still overpowering, and as some of the people watching along live in the YouTube chat are commenting, like, yeah, like the Suns might hurt our eyes because the Suns court is very, very orange. Mm-hmm. It's a lot better than I feel last year, because they just had that stripe down the middle last year that was just kind of, and I went to a couple of both of the games here, and it was just too overpowering. So we'll see what it looks like when the Suns ultimately play their first NBA Cup game at home. I believe against the Lakers is going to be their first NBA Cup game, because they play the Lakers at home and then they play the Spurs at home as part of our NBA Cup schedule. But seeing like Utah's you didn't even notice it because they had that gray. Yeah. Because their colors are like highlighter yellow and black. They've got two colors. Mm. What happened to their jersey? Do you remember over the summer when they released like those throwbacks that they're going to do? Is that like next season we're going to see those?
I think so, because that threw me off, because it was a whole line of them. It was like Association,
3. Icon, City, like all of them were released, and you go to like Locker Vision NBA or NBA Locker Visions where you can always see the uniform matchups. And I went to it today because I had all the graphics prepped for this, like in those colors, in the purple with the blue. And I went to it. I'm like, those don't even exist. What are they doing?
Yeah. And like, if they would have rolled out with that this season, they would have been a top 3, jersey rotation for sure. I love those old, Utah unis, and even the updated ones. I mean, they're just as clean.
They're nice.
What they need to bring back is the purple with the yellow lettering.
Yes.
Yeah, like that 90s one. Yeah, they need to bring that back.
Like right before they changed to like the Karl Malone going to the finals one. I know exactly which ones you're talking about. Utah's always had a decent jersey until they decided to go highlighter on us. The way that they incorporate the mountains, it was cool. It looked cool on the court. And it was a nice court for Phoenix Suns members to run around on tonight. So for those of you who didn't watch the game, we'll give you kind of a recap of what happened. Again, 120 to 112. And it was led by the efforts of one Devin Booker.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Big Dick Booker.
Everybody, chill, relax. Devin Booker's going to be okay. I know that in the last couple games, he's seemed a little bit off. I know that his clutch time moments have really not been good at all this season. And I know that without Kevin Durant last game, we really needed him to step up in the clutch, and he didn't deliver. tonight he was fine. He was 11 of 20 from the field. He led all scorers with 31 points. He was 5 of 9 from 3, had 4 rebounds, had a couple assists, and a couple of block shots as well. So, Jay, tell me this. Coming into this game, did you have any worry about Devin Booker's performances? And if so, what were those? And if not, why not?
Well, to start the season, I kind of figured he would kind of fall into that Olympic book sort of role, considering like the structure of the team, really, especially going the 3-guard lineup rolling out, with Tyus, Beal, and Book. And, someone has to, put more effort onto the defensive end. And we'll talk about Beal's defense a little later.
Oh,
yeah. So Book, for one, was going into a sort of position change. He's not throwing up as many shots. And then there were some murmurs of, like he was dealing with like an ankle thing in the beginning of the season. And for the last week, he's had like bubble guts and stuff. And I don't want to be running around, jumping up and down, trying to defend people, clinching and all that shit. So I was really worried. I was worried about, because sometimes when Book is like cold, it can last a good like week or two. It feels like, even though it's like 3-4 games. And so that's exactly kind of like what the timeline was. But to answer your question, no, I wasn't really worried, because we know who Devin Booker is. We know who Big Dick Booker is. Yeah, and, he's going to turn on whenever, especially when he sees Utah or New Orleans. He just turns on all the fryers, and, he's just cooking. So.
Yeah, he's got the cheeseburgers cooking too. Like, he's a one-man show. He's like, get out of my kitchen. And it's understandable why people were worried. Kind of a choppy beginning of a season, right? Like you said, adjusting to a new role in a new offense. He's been with Kevin Young since 2020. So for the past 4 seasons, he's had one mode of coaching as it pertains to offensive output. And now they're changing switches or changing systems. They're switching how their style of play is on offense. They're a team that shoots more threes now. And that's been well documented. And, the first week kind of choppy, but then he comes out in week 2 and he averages 33.7 points on shooting splits of 48, 37, and 90. And
player of the week.
Yeah, player of the week. Everyone's like, hell yeah, okay, here he is. But then in week 3, he plummets back to 17.8 points per game with splits of 37, 19, and 92. 19 being the middle one. That's 3-point percentage. And so everybody starts to worry. In that week 3, there's 4 games played. There's 4 clutch games played. And Devin Booker has 4 total points in clutch time moments. He was 1 of 7 from the field and 0 of 4 from beyond the arc in those clutch time moments, which includes up to the Sacramento game. So to outside observers, it seems clear that something was amiss with Devin Booker, and they wouldn't be wrong based on those metrics. But at the same time, you have to understand that Devin Booker had a couple things going against him. One, as you mentioned, the illness. He's out there clinching. Like, have you ever shot a 3-pointer when you're afraid you're going to have something dribble down your leg? I know I haven't, and let alone with cameras everywhere. And like, think about the poor guys who have to sweep up the floor. If he dribbles on the court, man, it's going to be a mess. People are, the front row is going to be vomiting.
The towel guys, multiple towels, just trying to clean. Yeah, so
it'll turn into that Stand By Me moment where everyone's throwing up because of fat ass or whatever. And like, we don't want that. We don't need that as Suns fans. And neither does Devin Booker. So he's not feeling well. He's adjusting to the system. And it's a reminder that if you go back to early in his career, when Devin Booker shot the most amount of threes that he's ever attempted in his career, which was 7.1 per game. That was back in 2017/18. He was also his most accurate year when he shot 38.3%. But through his first 13 games of that season, his shooting percentage from deep was only 34.2. It took time for him to adapt, and he finished the remainder of the season shooting 39.2. And again tonight, 5 of 9 from beyond the arc. My point being, everybody, it's going to be okay. Devin's going to, and he showed us tonight. And he was hustling. He was playing with that passion again. In the fourth quarter, he really came alive as we needed him to, and ended up shooting or making 15 points, 4 of 5 from deep in the fourth quarter, 5 of 8 from the field. And then he had that 1 assist to Ryan Dunn, and that kind of sealed it. So, I mean, a great performance from Book tonight, right?
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. And yeah, even with Book going through like his ups and downs so far to start the season, his passing has been up a few levels compared to previous seasons. And even in the 21-22 seasons, his passing was really, really good. Finding Mikal in the corner, getting JaVale with the alleys and stuff like that. But dude, Book's passing has been phenomenal this season, and it's a little too much point guard for my liking. But hey, when KD's back, Book can go back to doing what he's doing and just focus on scoring. But that passing is so crucial. And even if KD was still performing the way that he was and Book wasn't passing like that, our record would look incredibly different. So
yeah, again, he's going to find a way to contribute, and that's what is key. And we saw that obviously tonight, shouldering most of the offensive load. But he wasn't alone. He was Batman. Where is she? He had his Robin.
And she said, you're not the only one, but you're the best, Bradley. Bo, bo.
Bradley Beal tonight had 24 points coming off the bench and was hustling. And the way that he was performing on both ends of the floor, which I think that you're going to get into, he had 2 steals. He had a block shot. He was 4 of 7 from beyond the arc. And remember that both these guys had a rough go of it in the game against the Kings from deep. Had they hit either of them hit one more 3, it would have been a different game.
Right.
But were you worried that Bradley wasn't going to play, seeing as DeMar DeRozan fell into his knee in overtime against the Kings? Like, did you think that, oh shit, we're going to be without Bradley Beal? And how shocked are you to see him come out and play like this?
I mean, like shit. That's how Kevin Durant gets injured. It's people like flailing on his legs and stuff. Just deadlifting. Like, so I was worried about Beal, especially he was tossing and turning on the ground. But hey, he came out guns blazing, and he's been a two-way player like all season, and that's exactly what we needed for this team to work. I mean, Beal's defense has been great, and I know like 5 or 6 games in, you posted the defensive metrics of what Beal was doing, and by the eye test, it was not that at all. But defensive metrics, I mean, they're very wonky every now and then.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at them as of late, but I think me personally, Beal has been phenomenal on both sides of the court. His rotations are really good. He's fighting over screens, when he has energy. We'll talk about the third quarter woes a little later, when we talk about the cons and stuff. But I've been very impressed with what Beal's been doing. He does need to attack, the rim a little bit more. He gets caught, thinking a little too much when he, goes around, picks and stuff like that. And I think that'll, straighten itself out, through time, with this actual offensive structure. So, but everything that I've seen so far this season, I think Beal's been great for exactly what this team needs.
Yeah. And, he's somebody who you might not think is worth the money. And I don't disagree there, considering how much he gets paid. But at the end of the day, he's a damn great tertiary option for this offense. Oh, and he have games like this where he can carry you. And tonight, for quite some time, he was the one who carried us until Booker arose in that fourth quarter. Now, one of the reasons Booker had to really step up is Bradley Beal did exit the game early. Mike Budenholzer said in the postgame press conference, he says, we'll see how he does, how he wakes up, what the medical team has for us tomorrow, because he left with left calf tightness. Not what you want to hear. Obviously, tomorrow we play against the Sacramento Kings on the road, a nice little back-to-back that starts at 8 p.m. here in the desert. Any concern with Bradley Beal not playing tomorrow?
That's tough. I mean, it seems like everybody's being hit by the injury bug right now, like league-wide. I mean, except for Boston, because there's something in the water there.
But they don't have Kristaps Porzingis, right? And Jaylen Brown's in and out of the of the lineups. So you're right. Literally the day that Kevin Durant was announced as being out for 2 weeks, Zion Williamson, Ja Morant, just player after player is going. Chet Holmgren is out.
My fantasy is hurting, guys. It is hurting. I have players in the injury reserve. I only have 2 spots, and I have like 3 other players that need to be in it. So
yeah, we got to talk to Gavin about giving us some more spots in on the IR, because man, it gets crowded quick.
What's with Jay getting the number 1 pick? Back-to-back years. Like what is that shit?
No, he didn't get the number 1 pick. He was like number 10. He picked Trae Young.
Who was 1 this year?
It's one of them Australian fuckers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like they went 1, 2, 3. Now they're all happy. Like, look at our teams. We're all 1, 2, 3. Like, yeah, you guys had the 3 best draft picks, and none of those guys are injured. So good for you. I ended up at number 4.
Yeah, I was like second to last. I was like, all right. I'm like, it's a snake draft, I'll figure it out. And then, so I'm putting up a lot of points, y'all. So
oh man, I got 68 fantasy points from Shea Gilgeous-Alexander yesterday. I'm like, good. I'm good for the week. Like that's that's pretty much the majority of what it is. So says Jay just walked in. He's like, I just walk in and here's blasphemy.
And my fault. Like I was. Did y'all do a live stream of this draft?
We didn't do a live stream. We just logged into StreamYard, all hung out together.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I was out like I think I was at like Costco or something. And,
you were probably like Matthew was the previous year. He's like, I'm on a date. It's like logging in. It's like logging in. But again, bringing it back, Bradley Beal, calf tightness. We'll see tomorrow. My guess is he's not going to play. He was blessed and shocked himself that he had the opportunity to play tonight after DeMar DeRozan rolled into his knee in overtime, and he gutted through that. And I was at the arena for that one, and to see him gut through it, because the first thing that went through my mind, I was like, shit, here we go. But now with the calf tightness, again, it's like that calf strain that KD has. As somebody who has had an Achilles injury in the past, like KD, you don't want to touch that. Obviously, that's not the issue for Bradley Beal, but second night of back-to-back, you're 9-2 atop the Western Conference. You might sit them and go, you know what? We do have depth on this team. We do have players who can play some more minutes, who can eat into the Bradley Beal. They can't provide the offensive production, but they can eat into those minutes. We can see some Damian Lee, who we haven't seen very much of this year. We can see some more Ryan Dunn. We can see some Monte Morris can get some more minutes out of it as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Bradley Beal tomorrow, which would be crazy because that would be 3/5 of our rotation that's going to not be available unless Nurkic does play. And the only one who's not available who isn't blocked me on Twitter. So I better go check Twitter. Maybe before the game, Bradley Beal blocked me, and that's why he will potentially be out as well.
I'll tag him on the show to make sure.
Okay, perfect. That's good teamwork there. That's good. That's good looking out. But looking at some other players and how they performed tonight, obviously with Yusuf Nurkic being out, it was Mason Plumlee who got the start. Mason Plumlee. And I appreciate you coming on the show and dealing with this shit. Let's talk about somebody. Here's a song. It's just goofy.
Hey, no, they're bops, man. I mean, that's what I listen to when I go to the gym. It's.
I should make a Spotify playlist of just my 15-second clips on all these drops. Actually, not a bad idea. I might actually do that. But Mason Plumlee in this one, 26 minutes played. He was 6 of 9 from the field for 15 total points. Had 14 rebounds. Had a couple assists and a block shot in there as well. 3 of 4 from the line. Mason Plumlee is very, very fundamentally sound. Yeah. He's not the great thing is we played against Drew Eubanks today. Did you see Drew Eubanks? He played 3 minutes.
Yeah, I saw him for a second, and I went to go grab a slice of pizza, and I came back, and he was off the floor. And I was like, "Oh, all right, just see him later." Totally forgot though.
Yeah, 3 minutes, 3 play. He had 4 points. He was 2 for 2. He was starting to cook. And they're like, we don't want to win this game. Get this guy out of here. But so, what are your thoughts on Mason and how effective he's been in replacing Drew Banks this year?
We going into the offseason, we just wanted an upgrade over Drew Eubanks, and he got killed. I mean, he got the Landry Shamet curse 14 number, so his destiny was to get cooked last season. So yeah. Going into the offseason, we just needed an upgrade, and when we signed Mason Plumlee, even though it was an awful free agency, thing. When we signed Mason Plumlee, I was actually pretty stoked because his time with the Clippers, he was a guy that him and Zubac going back to back, it was always just took a toll on us. And, especially with the other spots that he's been in, with Charlotte and stuff, I've always been a big fan of Mason Plumlee, mm-hmm. Always sound, great passer, sneaky ball skills. You just forget he can dribble, take the ball up court. Yeah, his passing is really good, and he's undersized, but man, he can get up there, man. So I love everything about Plumlee, and the preseason like scared everybody because Plumlee played like shit.
Yeah. I was like, oh, shit.
I was like, man, I must have missed some Clippers games when he was just awful. But to start, I mean, not even just to start. I mean, this whole season, Plumlee has been such a shoulder to lean on. I mean, he's been great. I've been loving every minute he's been on the court. So.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point, and it's the fact that whenever you would play against the Clippers, you knew that you were undersized. We knew last year with Nurkic and Drew Eubanks against Ivica Zubac and Mason Plumlee, we're like, oh, man, they win that battle. Because when one of those guys comes off the floor, another guy's going to be there, and he's going to be effective in getting the rebounds. He's going to negate our ability to get offensive rebounds. He is sneaky. He does have sneaky ball skills. Gets to the line probably a little bit more than I'd like to as an opponent, and is just again fundamentally sound. And I love what John Tran said earlier. He goes, "The medium fundamental instead of like the big fundamental, like Tim Duncan. It's like the medium fundamental. It's what he is. He's like,
no, yeah, that's perfect actually. Yeah, no, like, and dude, like no one else does this in the league, but he is so confident, just jumping and dunking it behind his head,
behind his back,
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, no one else does that in the league. It's crazy.
And the key that he has that I feel like Drew Eubanks didn't have is he's got court awareness and basketball IQ. And I'm not saying Drew Eubanks does not have a high basketball IQ. I'm saying Mason Plumlee has a higher one. Perhaps it's the Duke education, right? You got one guy went to Duke, the other guy went to Oregon State. Like, who are you going to trust as your lawyer? Like, I'm going with the Duke guy. I just feel like, privatized education. I don't know. But I think that what he brings is that basketball IQ. He knows where to be on offense. Yeah. He knows how to rebound appropriately. Now, not obviously rebounding isn't art. Just ask Dennis Rodman, who studied the ball coming off the rim. You're not always going to be in the right place, but he knows how to shift ever so slightly on offense when somebody's driving to make himself available or to clear space for somebody. And you're seeing that over and over again. And again, like what was interesting about this game is when I heard that Walker Kessler was going to be out, I knew a couple things. I knew the lane was going to be open for the Suns. They don't have any shot blockers. They were playing small ball 5 essentially with, you could say Markkanen was the 5 or John Collins was the 5, but neither of those guys are shot blockers. So I'm like, okay, the Suns are going to attack the paint. They're going to attack the interior, which they did somewhat at the beginning. But I also knew that this was going to be an opportunity for Mason Plumlee to potentially be taken advantage of. Because if they are going to play that 5-out strategy, which is something that we always fear with Yusuf Nurkic, that he's going to be pulled out and then they're going to attack the interior. And the Jazz just didn't do that really. Like what? Now, don't get me wrong. Like they ended with more points in the paint in this game. They outscored the Suns 58-34, but it wasn't because they were actively attacking the paint. I feel like it was primarily because they were, getting offensive rebounds and getting second chance points on tip-ins versus actively attacking the paint. Why do you think they didn't do that? Like, is it the tanking?
Yeah, probably the tanking. And I don't know. Like, I think Will Hardy is a decent coach. Like,
fair.
So I think he's fine. And it just seems like their game plan is to get shots up and not really attack the interior, even though they have guys that can do it. Like Colin Sexton can get to the rim whenever he wants.
Yeah.
Clarkson's shifty. He can get down there. Lauri Markkanen, I mean, he can bully himself down there. And Lauri doesn't have a superstar whistle. So, I mean, he works for every bucket that he gets.
Amen.
So, what Mason Plumlee is kind of an intimidating guy to, kind of run into, even though he's undersized. I mean, he gets up just as much as anybody else in the league. So I wouldn't want to take it in on him. And we saw it like in the third quarter and stuff, like when they did start attacking the rim more consistently. I mean, it was turnover Salt Lake, so it was Mason Plumlee been fantastic. And I can't give him any more praise than I am right now. So
yeah, to your point, in that third quarter, when Utah outscored the Suns 30-23, 18 of their points came in the paint. And that's when they really upped their game in trying to take advantage of the fact that Mason Plumlee isn't the greatest shot blocker. He's not a great rim deterrer. And they tried to pull him out and then boom, pass around, attack. But it wasn't a strategy that they had kind of throughout the game, which I found was interesting. If you're a Utah Jazz fan, you're looking at the fact that the Jazz had 9 free throw attempts to the Suns 22 in this game. and you're going to say, A, the refs, or B, why aren't we attacking? Why aren't we forcing the issue? And we as Suns fans know what that's like, because for so long, we always feel like we're a team that doesn't get to the line enough. I don't know what our stats are as it pertains to it this year, but I can click 2 buttons and I can tell you, total free throw attempts per game, we're right in the middle of the league. We're 13th. We averaged 23, so we were pretty much right on mark today. Yeah. Should the Suns try to attack more, or is it a result of being a 3-point heavy shooting team that you're just not going to get to the free throw line with great frequency?
I mean, it's both. I mean, this is a compromise that we kind of structured our roster with. We want to indulge into the new era of NBA ball, is to launch shots early in the shot clock, try to get more possessions and get more points, per 100 possessions. I mean, that's sort of the thinking around the structure of this team. Boston does it better than anybody else. OKC, even though they kind of move like molasses, I mean, that's still kind of like their end goal really is to get those shots up as much as they can. And the way that the Suns are put together, we're sacrificing the interior pressure for, the 3-point. And we have guys that can light it up on any given time. It's just when we get cold, like we do consistently in the third quarter, that's when, things get a little rough. And especially when we're not delivering on the defensive end, while we're cold, it complicates things drastically. So there's a give and take with every team. It's nice having teams like the Clippers around, just because they're so 3-and-D heavy. They just have that length is insane. Pause. But it's to have those teams just thrown it's like a wrench thrown in your schedule. It definitely helps. These teams swing the ball, create beautiful basketball, and really just expose, the littlest holes that you possibly can. And so those 2 games that we got against the Clippers were really annoying, but I mean, it just makes you stronger at the end of the day. And with us getting the 3-ball up, I mean, that's what I've been preaching for years, especially under the Monty Williams teams and stuff. The fact that we weren't getting threes up, even though we shot really good from 3, was always really irritating. So
it's nice to see us actually. I was thinking about it yesterday when I was watching the Valley Suns game, and it's a piece that I'm writing for Brightside, talking about just that, foundationally as an organization, we're embracing this, and it feels like we're finally an NBA team. Yeah, oh shit, we're finally embracing it. And it's like I've said, now that the Suns are shooting the 3-ball, they're going to institute a 4-point shot or something. Just like when we finally start spending money, that's when they go, okay, apron, first apron, second apron. They got to fuck us somehow.
I have a whole conspiracy theory about that stuff. Don't get me started.
We only got so many minutes, but I'd love to hear this conspiracy theory. But at the same time, you look at tonight and 3-ball, 39 attempts, 18 of 39, so 46.2% from deep. That's how you win ball games, is when you hit them. It's when you have those cold nights against Sacramento. Again, live by the 3, die by the 3. You're not going to win 82 games. You're going to lose a couple along the way when you just have an off shooting night. We experienced that on Sunday. We still forced the game into overtime, which is pretty impressive unto itself. Yeah. Taking a look at some other players on the lineup, obviously Mason Plumlee got the start, which means there was a backup center, and he played pretty darn good too for a rookie.
You know what I'm talking about.
So Iguodaro.
Man,
that's my favorite drop.
I love that drop.
Dude, that's my favorite. Office Space is one of my favorite movies of all time. Dude, the O face sends me every time. I always forget the drop until I'm listening to it at the gym. And dude, it has me
hits. It hits. And it's great because there's 3 O's in Oso Iguodaro. For those who listen, if you watch it, every time it says O, an O pops up on the screen, and then it fills out with Oso Iguodaro. I was in the right mindset that night when I made that one.
You're cooking with that one.
Yeah, that one was cooking with grease on that one. Oso Iguodaro, 3 of 5 from the field. He had 6 points. Yeah, okay. But in 21 minutes, he had 8 rebounds on the defensive end, 4 rebounds on the offensive end, a total of 12 rebounds, a couple of block shots too. I mean, Oso Iguodaro, he was cooking with grease tonight, wasn't he, Jay?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been loving the rookies that we've had, rolling out. Of course, we'll talk about Dunn or whatever. But yeah, Oso, he hasn't been given a lot of opportunity or minutes just because, we've had Nurk and Plumlee playing reasonably well together, back to back and stuff. So we really haven't had to use Oso a ton. But when Oso is on the floor, he is not a detriment at all. I mean, he's a smart IQ guy.
Yes,
he knows how to set screens. He knows when to exit off the screens. So he's not getting called for the moving screens and all that stuff. He's agile. I mean, he gets up there. He creates second chance opportunities, and he's not the strongest guy. But man, dude, he can weave himself, between bodies and at least get his hand on the ball. I mean, Oso tonight was phenomenal, and you love to see that out of a rookie big and stuff. Yves Messi, a guy that we're looking at going into the draft. I mean, he's figuring it out too, and I just love, I played big my whole life, even though I shouldn't have been. When I started playing more competitive ball, that's when a coach was like, hey, well, let's turn you into a 3D guy. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to shoot. So, but I love seeing, big guys figure it out. I mean, that's why I defend Nurk more than anybody else. But seeing what Oso did tonight, especially against physical guys like John Collins and, going against Lauri Markkanen one-on-one, Oso held his own. And you got to take every matchup with a grain of salt. But Oso held his own tonight. Very impressed.
Yeah, again, somebody who doesn't have a ton of playing time in the NBA. And you couldn't – if you're a casual fan, you would not have known that. And it was actually one of the frustrations I had watching the Kings game, that when we went small ball 5, Oso wasn't out there and Ryan Dunn wasn't out there. I'm like, man, our rookies should be out there. They're fundamentally sound. They're smart players. You put good scorers around them, and heck, even Ryan Dunn can hit the 3 now, so he's good. But Oso just has this knack for being in the right place at the right time and making the right play. And although the challenge went against him tonight, I think it probably could have went the other way, but they called it a certain way, so therefore it went that way. But the way that he's attacking the boards, doing the putbacks, he's a perfect small ball 5. He's a little too small to be a 5, and if anybody see his jump shot, run the other fucking way, because he would be a great power forward. If this was 1997, he would be a power forward, and he would cook the NBA because of his fundamentals on the interior. You put a big next to him, they're a rebounding machine, and he's somebody who, it's his passing that is something that is really makes him tough to defend, because you think he's going to do one thing, you think he's going to throw up that crazy little push shot, and then boom, he's hitting a cutter on the backside, and you don't even know it, and then it's 2 points.
He's a quick cutter. Yeah,
he is. And he recognizes what defenses are doing. It's something. It's an observation I made in the offseason or the preseason, where I'm like, seeing this guy process at a high level this soon, there's a ton of things that need to be worked on in his game. His jumper being one of them. You add a 17-foot jumper to this guy, and he becomes a completely different player. And if it becomes a confident jumper, he could potentially be a starter in the NBA. Not bad for your 40th overall pick. So there's plenty of things that you can work on with him, but he's already so foundationally sound. There's a reason why. What's the spot track guy's name? Kevin Smith.
Oh yeah.
Kevin Smith is in love with Oso Ighodaro. He thought he should have been a first-round pick, and thankfully he dropped to us. The Suns maneuvered appropriately, moved back up from 54 to 40th in the draft, and snagged this kid out of Marquette, and he's providing meaningful minutes. I mean, our rookie's out there, and he's playing 21 minutes. He's going for 6 points and 12 boards, man. That is impressive shit, and 2 blocks. That is some impressive shit.
He has some good blocks, and he's not a slouch on defense either. And that's what I was worried about when I was looking at draft prospects, and I was looking at Tyler Kolek, and I obviously also running around and stuff. And I was like, I saw him, but I didn't see him.
Yeah, because you're watching Kolek's highlights.
Yeah, I'm watching Kolek. Yeah, so I was like, when we got the pick, I'm all like, he is very fundamentally sound, high IQ. He can navigate the offense pretty well. I was like, I'm glad we don't use him as a Nurk passing hub like we did last season. I was scared that we were going to do that again. But he's doing everything that we're asking him to do, and if not more. And if he keeps up the rebounding, if he keeps on being physical, if he puts on some weight, and if he develops a somewhat of a midi or an outside, corner jumper, that's a $20 million a year player for sure. So, yeah.
And you make a great point. He's a really good screener.
Yeah, and for how skinny he is, he takes up a lot of space.
He gets wide.
yeah, he gets wide, and he's probably getting notes from Nurk because Nurk is one of the best screen setters in the league. And a lot of people don't like to give him praise for little shit, but Nurk is a fantastic screener, and also he is really good for his frame. I mean, he takes up 2 guys, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, I will say that Nurk is a great screener, but he could be called for an offensive foul or a moving screen line. Like,
oh yeah, he moves
probably 80. Oh, he leans his ass into everybody. It's like so odd. I remember when he was a Portland Trailblazer, I used to complain about all the time, like, he leans his ass into everybody. How is that not called? That's a moving screen. And then he joined our squad. I'm like, hey, we got the moving screen guy. That's fucking,
Hey, if you can get a center that gets away with it, kind of like how Draymond and Kevin Looney do. I mean, dude, that's a cheat code. You try to get those guys that get away with shit like that.
Yeah, because they piss off the opposing team. They get in their brain too, so it changes the game. So completely agree.
Against guys like Lou Dort, but if we had Lou Dort on our team,
I would love him.
We're not going against Lou Dort. Yeah, so it's like
also he's an ASU guy. I would love to have him on the team, man.
That too.
Another reason.
Hi, Barbie.
Oh, hi, Alan.
Oh, Grayson Allen,
I fuck shit up, guy.
So Grayson Allen back in Utah tonight, where he spent some seasons playing, and he looked comfortable, and it was much needed for Grayson because he's kind of had a rough go of it to start the season. He is somebody who you take a look at his total 3-point rate, and he leads the team. 75.8% of his shots entering this game are from beyond the arc. But that being said, he was shooting 31.9% from downtown, and that's what, 8th on the team. Not exactly ideal. So seeing him back in the friendly confines of the Delta Center, comes off the bench for 25 minutes tonight. He's 5 of 10 from the field, including 4 of 9 from beyond the arc. 15 points for Grayson Allen. Do you think he's feeling a little bit more comfortable? Is it something about the Utah air that just I can shoot the 3 again?
Yeah, Grayson definitely needed a game like this. I mean, he had a game sort of similar to this, like a couple games ago. I can't remember, but Grayson Allen to start the season, I mean, he wasn't playing because he was dealing with it was like an Achilles thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he like tampered with it or whatever, and then he had the kid, and then he was out for a period of time with that. So really, he's just getting kind of the swing of things as of right now. I'm giving Grayson that I'm giving him every pass because he saved our bacon a lot last season.
Hell yeah.
So Grayson, phenomenal tonight. I mean, he wasn't scared to shoot the ball. The weight thing does concern me a bit because I don't know if you noticed, but he is taking threes a little further out and stuff. So it just looks like he's just heaving it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's good in theory. And I know Bud wanted them to put on weight to be a little more forward driven compared to last season and, for the defense and all that. But thinking about how Grayson was last season, I mean, he was quick off the catch when it comes to shooting, and especially getting around defenders that were closing out on him. Now he's not even getting around them like that. So when he's crashing down in the middle, and he used to be able to finish it, but now he can't even get the ball up. So it's a lot of kicking action with him. Hopefully he can figure it out. Hopefully he's just a little hesitant because he was dealing with that Achilles thing.
Yeah.
But shooters like Grayson, they just need a game like this, and it kind of just gets them back into the mix of everything. And he's going to be a pretty if Royce doesn't have it one night, you throw Grayson in, and hopefully one of the two are banging on that night. So.
And again, a reason why we probably lost Sacramento, both him and Royce O'Neal, I think they were combined 6 for 31 from the floor. And when that happens, you're not going to win games. So this is the first game of a 4-game road trip. Right, we start here. We go to Sacramento. They're probably getting ready to go on the plane right now. They fly up to Sacramento. They play there tomorrow night. Then Friday they're in OKC, and then Sunday 1:30 p.m. start, which is fucking awesome because the Cardinals are on a bye. I hate when the Suns have a Sunday afternoon game during a Cardinals game, but our fucking 6-4 Cardinals, baby, looking great.
Dude, they're rolling. They're
looking so good.
And Sunday was really nice because it was a Cardinals game. I mean, you saw that ass whooping, right? And then like 45 minutes after the Suns came on, yeah, we lost, but I mean, it was perfect back to back. I mean, my fiance hated it, but I was chilling.
Well, see, I watched the Cardinals game, and then I saw we were kicking the shit out of them because I told my wife, I'm like, hey, because I had tickets to the Suns game. I was like, let's leave at 5:30. I'm like, I'm going to come to, I live in North Phoenix. I'm like, well, we'll probably get there like midway through the first. Yeah. And they were whooping that ass so bad that I told her to start getting ready early. So we left out of here, and I timed it perfect to where we could walk into the stadium, go to our seats, and watch the beginning of the game. Except I walked all the way to the stadium and realized I left my phone in my truck. We had to walk all the way back to the parking lot, and she was making fun of me. She's like, you thought you had it timed down perfectly, didn't you? I'm like, I did. She's like, you always forget something. I'm like, you're right. I'm like, fuck. This never happens when she's not around. But if I bring her somewhere, I always forget something. Like, we'll go to Home Depot, and I forgot my wallet. I'm like, I never forget shit. But if she's around, I get nervous or something. But anyways, so it's a 4-game road trip. Grayson Allen's not going to be around his new kid for this entire road trip. Do you think that the fact that he's going to be in hotel rooms getting sleep is going to result in performances like tonight? Should we be betting the over on Grayson Allen threes during this road trip?
I got to see what the line is. It's probably pretty low considering like how he's been this season. But yeah, bet the over. Yeah,
there you go. The betting advice right here on the Suns Jam Session podcast. All right. Well, I was in Utah tonight along with Coach Evan B on the subreddit stakeout. I was dressed up as Batman, and here's what I found.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
Where is she? I normally turn the light off, but I'm running a little late, and keeping the light on for you. All right, so I was. Where is she? Where is she? So here's what was going on the subreddit for the Jazz. I will say, it's one of the most boring subreddits I've ever read.
I can imagine.
There's like 4 people there. And all they're talking about is Isaiah Collier from USC, who is another guy that I wanted. I wanted Kolick or Collier. And we ended up with Dunn and Oso-Ighodaro. And it goes to show you that I don't know shit, okay? Seth in the chat. Did you find where she is? No. That's why I'm always asking. So the first comment that I wrote down, what a steal of a pick the Suns got with Dunn. I was kind of hoping the Jazz would get him with a late pick last year. And we got him. Defense is absolute Swiss cheese without Walker. Walker's a bigger loss for us than KD is for them.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm like, you think that's true? Like,
top 10 player all time, and some guy named Walker.
Some guy named Walker. And I only had 2 other comments, so they both had to do with Dwayne Wade. So obviously, for those of you who know, Dwayne Wade is a partial owner of the Jazz, and I guess he was in the building tonight. Oh. And they're like, poor Wade. First, the awful statue, then forced to watch this Jazz team in person.
Yeah.
To be honest, D. Wade is probably better than half of our roster. And that's all there was. They didn't talk anything about the Suns. Not one negative comment. The only observation they had was Ryan Dunn. So there you go, ladies and jamsters. The most lame subreddit of all time. Arr.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
What are your thoughts on Matthew and his Gambit character? Have you heard that one yet?
No. Is he doing Gambit this year?
Yeah, he's doing Gambit. He's doing the Creole,
the Cajun.
The Cajun Remy LeBeau thing. It's interesting. It's interesting. I think it's hilarious. He's like, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm like, it says Big Dick Booker. Like,
yeah, and I think Cajun people aren't watching.
That's what I told him. I go, I don't know. I know you don't want to offend our Cajun conduits who watch this, but I'm like, that one person, I'm sure they'll actually enjoy it.
And I, like, Cajun is such a unique dialect that, like, if they hear like a good impersonation of it, they'll respect it 100%. And
well,
it's a hard thing to do.
Newsflash, it's not good. That's what makes it funny.
So you're offending everybody, Matthew. Canceled.
Right, let's hand out some hardware.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters, a reminder, if you're watching along live, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you're watching later, give us a thumbs up too. Please subscribe. I want to hit like 4,000 subscribers this year. That'd be cool. It'd be great if we got 5,000. It's like our 5th year doing it, but I'll settle for 4. So if you're watching, if you're one of the people who's watching, you haven't hit subscribe, support the podcast, okay? And if you're watching along live, let us know in the chat who your jam star of the game is. JayyyJoyce from the He's on Fire podcast, who's your jam star of the game?
There was a lot of guys and cats that could have won it tonight, but you have to give it to Devin Booker. He's been having an up and down sort of season when it comes to consistency. He was lining enough from 3, and his passing was phenomenal tonight. So hardware goes to Big Dick Booker tonight.
Yeah, I was thinking because I really liked what I saw from Oso Ighodaro. I liked what I see from Mason Plumlee, Bradley Beal until the calf tightness. I mean, he was, like you said, on both ends of the floor. The way that he was engaged was fun to watch. Royce O'Neal, who we even talk about, he was dominating. Brian Dunn, defensively, this team looked really good. But I think because Devin Booker, we're all hoping that he starts to get right. There's obvious reasons why he hasn't gotten right to this point in the season, and we're still winning games by, mind you. We're 9-2, and Devin Booker hasn't even kind of hit full supernova yet. I'm giving it to Devin Booker as well. Taking a look in the chat. Suns Fever. My jam star tonight is our rookie, Oso. A solid game from him tonight. Don't disagree. David Ray. Booker's the jam star of the game. No question about it. John Tran. Giving the jam star to Booker. Honorable jam star for Mason Plumlee and his reverse jams. See? They are noted. My jam star is Beal from Kiko. Right to the point. Book Daddy from Kip. Booker comeback jam. Seth Logan. Lee says Book and Plumlee are jam star 1 and 1A. Both deserve it. Big Dick Booker from Jake from the Suns Planet podcast. Real Deal Bradley Beal from Sad or Sade. And Keith Nettles, coach for spreading out the minutes. That's a good point. This was a very balanced game from the Suns, especially in that first half. It's great to see that balanced basketball because that's a true sign of a team. Up next for the Phoenix Suns, they're playing tomorrow night against the Sacramento Kings once again. Second time in 3 games. Can the Suns win this game? I mean, Sacramento's like I witnessed it in person. We all knew it going into it. Sacramento's tough if you get down to those crunch time moments because they have guys who just know how to execute. And if the Suns are going into this game hobbled without Kevin Durant, potentially without Nurkic, potentially without Beal, can we fully lean into Devin Booker in clutch time moments and pull out a victory? Or does this have to be one of those games where we just jump them somehow and they're not expecting it?
Yeah, I mean, Sacramento is no slouch, and I think the basketball gods finally gave them a win, last game because we stole some games last season that we did not deserve to win. So
yeah, Brightside night, down 22.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that game was insane. So, if I can tell anybody to lock in, I mean, it's Coach Bud. Use the depth. I think we're one of the deepest teams in the league. Definitely top 5. I don't know for like 1 or 2, but one of the biggest issues that I had last game against Sac was I think Monte Morris is a pretty decent defender and he can stay in front of people. So if you throw him on, De'Aaron Fox and then you use Dunn, to go ISO with DeMar, I kind of like that a little more than putting Tyus on an island and then having Royce O'Neal get cooked. Just little stuff that like that. And with Sabonis, I mean, he gets a crazy whistle. So you try to do what you can to make his life hell. But with the fourth quarter and overtime last game, Sabonis was like a non-factor because we did shut that down. It was just DeMar
fouled him out.
Yeah, we fouled him out. So it's easy to get Sabonis relatively out of the game. And we just have to guard the 3-point line. Kevin Huerter is going to travel and all that shit. You just have to take what you can get, execute on defense. And they're a small team, so we should win the rebound battle. So that's just really what it is.
That's the key, and I'm glad you brought that up because the Sacramento Kings can execute at the end of games, sure, but we have the ability because of their lack of size. Sabonis is their center. He's not a huge guy. He's fundamentally sound. He's not the big fundamental. He's not the medium. He's like the
medium.
The medium. There you go. No, large. He's damn good. And if you can neutralize him somehow, because of the size or lack thereof, the Suns are going to have an advantage because, and you can see it in the last game. you can see what Coach Bud's strategy was. We're going to shoot the shit out of the 3-ball. In the last game against the Kings, the Suns set a franchise record with 57 3-point attempts. That was the strategy. It's like, we're just going to fucking launch grenades all day long. And if we can shoot 35%, we win the game. Well, in that game, they went 18 of 57. That's 31.6. And they forced it to overtime and ultimately lost. So my expectation is they're going to do the same thing. Is they're just going to start. They're going to we're going to Boston Celtics the shit out of you in this one. Because, again, as I mentioned, you had from beyond the arc in the last game, Bradley Beal was 3 of 10. Ryan Dunn was 0 of 3. 3 of 10 from Booker. 2 of 7 from Royce O'Neal. 3 of 11 from Grayson Allen. 1 of 3 from Okogie.
It was a bad night.
It was a bad night. It's all it was.
And they weren't like defending or closing out like that, you know. So so
they had a lot of wide open threes. They just weren't knocking them down. So the recipe, Bud showed us what his thoughts are relative to the recipe for success over the Kings. They just got to knock down 2 or 3 of those. They hit 23s, which sounds like a lot, but when you're launching 57, if they hit 23s, they win the game easily. And remember that just because the second night of a back-to-back doesn't mean the Suns are going to be tired, right? Like, generally teams on the second night of a back-to-back, that's the narrative going in, but they're also the ones who can come out and jump you a little bit because they're already feeling a rhythm because they were literally playing 24 hours ago. So it's going to be a fun game tomorrow, Jamsters. So make sure you tune into the Suns Jam Session podcast. We're probably going to do a playback. That's my guess. So follow the link in the descriptions below, and you could join us on our Bright Side of the Sun playback channel and watch the game along with Matthew and myself and anybody else who wants to join and pop on stage and talk some ball with us. Love doing that. Then we go live right afterwards. So, Jay, before we get out of here, again, thank you for joining us tonight and stepping up with Matthew being on the DL himself, the IR. We only have one IR slot here, unlike our fantasy, which is almost the exact same. And there's only 2 people here. But always love having you on the podcast, man. It was great. Last time I saw you at the game, always a fun time. But remind everyone once again where they can follow you and find all the amazing content that you're making, like nonstop. Like, you're like insane. You're nonstop, bro. Like, how do you have the time to do it?
Shit. I'm a brain rot on Twitter when it comes to talking Suns and all that. So you can find me at JayyyJoyce on Twitter for the He's on Fire podcast. If you want to listen to episodes back in March and May, you can go ahead and listen to that. But I want to get it back into the creative space in some sort of way. So if you see, any updates from me in regards to that, you'll see it if you follow me on Twitter. But anyone that does podcasts and stuff, I'm always open to talking ball. So just hit me up in the DMs, especially if I follow you. I'll give you a follow back, and we can create some magic together. So
hell yeah, create that magic, baby. And of course, you can follow me at Darth Voida, and you can read my writing at brightsideofthesun.com. Appreciate everyone who decided to hang out and spend a little time with us tonight. And remember, go home and love your family.